You're listening to Real Talk Texas with local expert Steve Hakes. Now, here's Steve.
Welcome back. And in the studio today, we've got Mike McCoy of Prudential Worldwide Realtors, and he's in the mid-cities of the Metroplex here. He's our real estate expert to talk about the suburban lifestyle. And as you know, we've had for several weeks on the show, we've been talking about Dana and I sold our house in Colleyville, and right now we live in Las Colinas. So it was kind of a compromise. We were halfway from Colleyville to downtown Dallas where we work. And I've been bugging Dana about living in the urban area, moving into the city. We're empty nesters finally after a long period of time. And so I brought Mike in to talk about Dana's side of the story. She still would like to live in the suburbs. We'll probably end up in the suburbs, but maybe we can do both, find a compromise there too. I don't know. But so, I've known Mike for about 15 years. He's been a realtor in that marketplace. When I have a question about a property, I reach out to Mike McCoy. And because he's very analytical, and I just trust him. So I wanted to bring him in the studio as one of our real experts today. And so we just were talking about the marketplace out there and why I live in Northeast Tarrant County. And he's stated a good argument for Dana there. But let's talk about the process. Okay, there's in the real estate market, there's buying, there's selling, but let's focus in this segment just on selling your house. Let's just say I have a house in the mid-cities area, and from a owner's perspective, my house in Colleyville was 15 years old, and it looked like it was dated in 15 years ago. So I was in the process of remodeling, and one of my clients was a big remodeler, and they had a special need, so Dana and I sold our house to kind of free us up and figure out where we want to be. But we did have to sell it below market because we were in the middle of remodeling. And so I wanted to ask Mike, okay, if I'm getting ready to sell my house, and what are the things, what's the top 3 things that you would do that I knew I would get dollar for dollar back out of it that would help me sell my house at full retail rather than me have to go below market?
Okay. Well, one of the first things I'd say is that number one thing is call a good real estate agent. A real estate agent's going to have the information of the market. They're going to know what the trends are. They're going to know what the values are. They're going to be able to tell you what your property value is being unremodeled or unrepaired or before. Yeah. And then they can also get you a good idea of what you can expect should you do those repairs that are necessary. To start out, if I were to say limit it to 3 really important items, I would have to say that the number one thing you should do is declutter. Do your best to clean out your closets. If you've got a packed closet like most of us do right now, box up half of it, make the closets look bigger than they actually are. Because when a buyer comes in and they go looking around, if they look in the cabinets or if they're looking on the countertops, if they're looking in the closets, they're going to see that you really don't have enough space, and therefore they're going to assume that they're not going to have. Yeah. Exactly. So you've got to remember, or one has got to remember, that first impression is what sells houses. If the first impression is not there for that house, then the buyer's going to go on to the next one, the next one, next one. That's one of the things that the internet produces. They're able to see whether or not they like a general property by seeing 50 to 60 properties, and should your property get chosen out of the 50 and 60, that's your one time to hook that fish. I mean, sorry, buyers out there, I don't mean to be calling it fish. So really, first impression is the most important thing, and I would say declutter. So if you have a bunch of things on your countertop, make sure you take them off. Make sure you take off the coffee pots, the extra salt and pepper shakers, the cookie jars, and just make it look like you have a nice, easy preparation area in the kitchen. And kitchen's one of the most important areas that should be absolutely decluttered and thinned out.
Okay. So I've called my realtor. I've decluttered my house. What are the other things I could do to make sure that I'm getting? What would I invest my money into? Would I paint? Would I put countertops in?
That would be part 3, in my opinion.
Okay, let's go to 2 then. I don't want to jump ahead.
Number 2. Number 2, what I would highly recommend is that whenever you've got your property decluttered, you've got the smells corrected. Don't try to cover smells, by the way, Steve. It doesn't do any good.
So all the candles I have in my house.
Just get rid of the candles, get rid of the cookies, because that's a number one warning sign whenever I go in with the buyer, is saying, what are they trying to hide here? So anyway,
that's interesting.
Yeah, the next.
Always heard baked cookies. And
I've never been a proponent of that.
Okay.
So the next thing I would say is make sure your house is light and bright. Now, if it's going to take that you go and paint a wall an accent color and make the rest of it a neutral color, I would highly recommend that than having a buyer come into a house and it's really kind of dark and dingy. So have your blinds open, have your lights turned on. Again, be prepared at all times for a showing, because you never know when that showing is really going to happen. Now, you usually get a call saying, yeah, you've got a showing happening in an hour and you can do it, but what if you're at work and you can't get to your house? So make sure your property is nice, light, and bright, and open up the blinds, open up the doors, make it as spacious as possible so that the buyer comes in there, he feels relaxed, he or she feels relaxed and is comfortable going into the house and looking around.
Okay.
All right. Third thing, for repairs, be careful that you don't over repair, because there's some things that you can do that you will get dollar for dollar back in your return. For example, if you remodel a kitchen, it's generally known that you're going to recoup about 85% of that kitchen in the sales price.
Okay.
So one thing you don't also want to do is make sure that you don't take on a massive remodeling project just to get your house on the market, because remodeling projects take a lot of time, they take a lot of money, and some of the things that you may put in it that may be really cool to you is not necessarily going to be cool to the prospective buyer. So keep repairs to a minimum.
What about like granite countertops and things like that? Because I hear what you're saying. Because I think sometimes that would be, there's certain granite I don't like. There's certain granite that Dana likes, but I mean, do you advise putting them in or not?
It depends. It's a case by case. That's another reason that you want to call your realtor in. They're going to see what's on the market today. What's your competition? Mm-hmm. If your competition down the street has granite countertops, make darn sure that you have better granite, countertops because you've got to beat your competition. So, yes, I would say that there are instances that you want to put in really nice countertops, especially if you have old Formica or, God forbid, butcher block or something like that. You want to go ahead and do those because, again, dollar for dollar, you're going to recoup it in the price of your home.
Okay. That's pretty good. What about if I were – one of the reasons I had to take a hit on my house is I had torn up the carpet in the master bedroom. I was starting to chip away at the tiles, and I was going to remodel that, and these people came in, and my house was unique in Colleyville. When I bought it, it had been on the market for a while because it had 2 masters down and 2 masters up. So it had like your in-law suite in it, which is perfect if your parents need to move in with you. And that's what happened with – we were empty nesters. My client of several years called me, and they were going to have to move out of the school district in Colleyville because they had their father-in-law moving in with them. And they couldn't find a house with the 2 masters on the first floor. Mm-hmm. So I kind of felt like, it's a unique property, unique buyer, perfect marriage. Let's go for it. But I was in the middle of remodeling, so I ended up having to take, basically what I had budgeted. I felt it was fair. If I was going to spend $20,000 on the master bedroom, I'd reduce my price by that amount so that they could buy it and they could put it in the way they wanted to remodel it, not the way I wanted it.
Well, it sounds like a win-win deal. So
it was. I think it was. We're still friends.
Good.
And,
good.
And I'm sure I'll get their refinance someday. So
yeah, as it goes for repairs, again, you have to take in consideration the age of the house. There's a lot of the Colleyville houses, most of the HEB houses, they're all built in the 60s, 70s, and early 80s. So they're due for that little upgrade. So if they haven't been done yet, do just the basic painting if needed, particularly exterior. You don't want to have any kind of cracking paint or caulking that's coming loose because, again, drive-up appeal is part of that first step that you have to make the first impression on, and that's where you also want to put in like landscaping. Just give it a little bit of color, give it a little bit of zest.
Well, if you're listening out there and you're thinking about selling your house or buying a house in the mid-cities, take out your cell phone, and I want you to put in this number, 817-925-2546. That's 817-925-2546. Send a text to our show. Just say sell, that you're looking to sell, or if you're looking to buy, type in buy, send it over to us, and we'll get you in touch with Mike McCoy, and I'll work with you and make sure that you're ready to move forward on a financial basis, being the mortgage professional here at Real Talk Texas. So stay tuned. We're going to come back and talk about the other side of the coin. We're going to talk about buying a home and how to buy right and make sure that you're buying the right property that fits your need.